be
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show for your Friday. Hey, it's Friday. We got through another week. Hey, good to be with you today. Paul Metza is going to join us for a good chunk of the 4 o'clock hour. He's got like books coming out, and it's just Paul, and he and I are going to just chat like northern Minnesotans, and that's going to be coming up. That's in the 4 coming up here about 3:30 this afternoon. We have members coming on in here from Healthcare for All Minnesota. Rose Roach is going to join us. Scott DeNoyer is going to join us, and Dave Garibaldi is going to join us. They're all there. They got a big event coming up here on this is on Saturday, the 29th, about celebrating the passing of Medicare and the failures of the system as it is there. And I can talk a lot about that myself directly. I really can. Have no problem about doing that either. That's going to be coming up here in, once again, about 20, 25 minutes from right now. Patrick, how are we today?
Doing all right. It's still warm outside, but a little less oppressive than yesterday.
Yesterday was Savannah, Georgia. I mean, it was just god awful, and it just got really, really bad. It is remarkable how all those storms. I mean, those storms were bearing down on the Twin Cities, and they just missed us. They just didn't hit us at all. Did you get any rain at your place last night?
We got a little bit that was separate from that line, but yeah, it was kind of like they just took a hard left right into Wisconsin, and then there was that other sort of section that was trying to build west of the metro, and that just all fell apart except for one little clump.
I'm hoping that there's a chance we get some rain tonight. We'll have to see if that happens here. But you'll probably have to keep watering your plants at least through into August at this point. This weekend, you're wearing your Twins hat. You've got faith that they're going to be able to win in Kansas City tonight, right?
I sure hope that faith is a little more than I need to beat that team.
Okay. I'm not. I wouldn't bet on that. I mean, I like my Twins, but my God, there's just some serious problems with that team, and starting with kind of the management of it. This weekend, I am going to go see the Barbie movie this weekend. Do I have pink to wear? I think I do. I think I've got a shirt with some pink on it. I'll wear that. But I got to get ready for that. And then, of course, I'm going to go see Shane this weekend, too, over at the Guthrie Theater. We talked to them, Terry Hempelman over there, who's in the play yesterday. I'm going to go see that this weekend. You know, it's going to be fun. I'm also, I can't wait to get out to the zoo and the monorail. They've converted the monorail into a treetop trail up there. Now, did you ever go on the monorail at the zoo? I did, yes. I took my kids there all the time. We'd go do it all the time. We were members, and so we'd go do that all the time. And I remember like when my son was really young, this is about in 2002, 2003, we'd get out there and it'd be packed. I mean, every car was packed. By the end, when they stopped doing that, we'd go on out there and, we were the only people on the entire train. And you were like, wow, it's amazing. No one was using it. Now, I don't know if it was the cost. It didn't seem to be that expensive, but, and you really didn't see that much from the monorail. I mean, it's you're going over fairly wooded paddocks as far as the animals go.
Could be that they just think this trail is a better use of the space than the monorail.
Oh, I think it's a fantastic use of the space. I think it's an absolute fantastic use of the space. I don't know how good the views will be. Hopefully you'll still be able to see the animals, but yeah, I am looking forward to that. I might do that this weekend too. I'll let you know if I get out there. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Well, I'll get into the story that everyone's kind of talking about because it broke today. Representative Dean Phillips is meeting with donors in New York next week to discuss a possible long shot primary challenge to Joe Biden in 2024. This is according to Politico and NBC News that they reported this on Friday. Phillips, a moderate Democrat member of the House leadership, is highly unlikely to mount a primary challenge unless Biden's health worsens or his political standing drops precipitously, according to Politico's Jonathan Martin. The 54-year-old Minnesota congressman has been outspoken about the need for younger leadership in the Democratic Party last year. He said the 80-year-old incumbent shouldn't run for re-election, even though he considered him a man of integrity and competency who has done an outstanding job under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. And I want to be very clear, I was very critical of him because the minute he did this before the election. And of course, what did the news media say? They went up to Governor Walz and anyone else was like, well, Dean Phillips says that Joe Biden shouldn't run again. What do you have to think? And I'm like, that's an unforced error, dude. You could have waited till after the election to make that comment. And that was an unforced error. You caused a lot of other Democrats to have to go on the record, or at least have to kind of avoid the question. Biden would be 82 at the start of his second term should he win re-election. The USA Today Suffolk University poll conducted last month found that 37% of Democrats and independent voters say the president's age makes him less likely to vote for him. If he were 15 to 20 years younger, it would be a no-brainer to nominate him, said Phillips, told Politico in an interview early this year. But considering his age, it's absurd we're not promoting competition as trying to extinguish it. The odds of a serious primary challenger, sitting president, are low, but it wouldn't be unprecedented. In 1968, Democratic Minnesota Senator Eugene McCarthy, a critic of President Johnson's Vietnam policies, nearly pulled off an upset by coming in second in the New Hampshire primary. If he does decide to run, Phillips would face substantial intra-party opposition and would likely harm Biden's standing in a possible rematch against former President Donald Trump, who, despite all of his legal troubles, continues to cruise well ahead of the race for the 2024 GOP presidential nomination. So, I'm no fool. If Dean Phillips was the Democratic nominee, I would vote for him. Plain and simple. Is that really a debate? you got the crap sandwich on one side, you got the Arby's beef and cheddar. I'll take the Arby's beef and cheddar, okay? I'm not going to take the crap sandwich. That is not a debate. And I will, if Dean Phillips, I think that Governor Newsom down in California might be considering this. If anyone challenges Biden and they become the nominee, I'm going to endorse them, and I'm going to have no tolerance. Repeat, zero tolerance for any person who sits there. It's like, they didn't put my guy in there. Now, I personally will vote for Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden has had one of the most monumental terms ever in a presidency. The stuff that he has gotten done, the stuff that he has gotten passed, including in the face of Republican opposition, has been extraordinary. And for a guy that people say, well, he's so old, he does still seem to smack around the Republicans pretty easily. He's warranted, if he wants to run, he's warranted a second term. I have no problem with that. And I will right now, even if, Dean Phillips or Gavin Newsom is to run, I would still vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden has deserved the vote. He's deserved another chance here. I will have zero tolerance for a redo of 2016, only instead from the far left of the progressive side of the party, the moderates say, well, they didn't take my guy, so I'm taking my toys and going home. I'm not going to have any because that's what's going to happen. And 90% of that will be fake. It will be astroturfing. It will be, trolls online trying to make it seem like the Democrats are split like they did in 2016 with shocking efficiency. So I'm just, once again, I don't care who the nominee is. I'm voting the Democrat. That's just that. Now, that being said, I've got some concerns about Dean. Dean seems to be one of those Democrats where the first thing that was mentioned to him most of the time seems to be, hey, I love working with the other side. That's a lot of him. I like working with the other side. Well, you're a Democrat. Aren't you a proud Democrat first? And this is not about just the moderates are a little bit further away from the rest of the party. No. Joe Biden's a moderate. Tim Walz is a moderate. As a matter of fact, here's the question you should ask yourself. Governor Walz is a moderate. You saw that legislative agenda that came through the House and the Senate this year in Minnesota. You saw Johnny Progressive come marching into town. Boom, 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 boom. We had progressive bill after progressive bill after progressive bill. And who signed most of them? Governor Walz. I mean, the Uber Lyft pay bill. Was the Uber Lyft pay bill the only one that he vetoed? I think it was.
That was at least the only major one.
The only major one, yeah. That was the only major one. And that was because it was basically, the company is vowing to move out of the state. And so the question was whether it would be viable, all that stuff. And needless to say, I think that the company scared them, into believing it, because you know what? They could move out of the state, but a company would come in tomorrow and take their place and make a mint. They weren't leaving. That was just bravado and trying to scare people. But needless to say, overall, you can't be denying the fact that Governor Walz, he's the grand poobah with the final say on all these things. And if it didn't like it, he wouldn't pass it. He passed those bills. He signed them. Workers' rights, women's rights, trans rights, better education system, healthcare, across the board. He was sensational. Now, here's the question for you. If Dean Phillips was the governor of the state of Minnesota, not a House member, and he would have been in the governor's mansion, do you think he would have signed all those bills? That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question that I don't know if there's necessarily an easy answer to. Because my gut feeling is no, he wouldn't. And my gut feeling is he would specifically be looking for bills he could veto under the argument of, you know what? I'm a moderate. I like working with the other side, and the other side really hates this bill. And they said they're not going to be my friends if I pass this, so I'm not going to pass it. I'm not saying all the bills, of course. I think that, he would obviously stood, I think, for women's rights. I think education, stuff like that. I think that would have helped greatly. Transgender rights. I would hope that he would have signed that. I think he would have. I am a little less confident on that one than on women's rights. Workers' rights, family leave, stuff like that, sick leave. I don't know if he would have signed those bills. I don't know if he would have come on out there and said, I'm sorry, you need to make cuts to social programs out there. I get the impression that he would have been demanding much larger tax cuts for probably the upper class. And I think you have to be careful with that, because at the end of the day, you're talking about the Democratic nominee for president of the United States. And the Democratic nominee for president of the United States should be, first and foremost, a proud Democrat who has signed on to all policy and platform initiatives, not, let me run it past my buddies on the other side of the aisle. I have said this before, and I'll say this again. I understand how moderate Democrats, and not so much moderate Republicans, because the Republican Party keeps all those guys in line. Just look at the votes that they've had recently there. Even the so-called moderates are voting along with the extreme far right. The Republicans are not like this. Democrats are like this. Imagine the Democratic Party is this huge field, and the moderate Democrats are on one side by a fence, and they can see some people on the other side of that fence. And on the way other side of the field there's Bernie Sanders way over there, and there's AOC over there, and there's Ilhan Omar over there. Wow, they're way over there. And they say, well, I'm a lot closer to these guys right here on this next field over. Maybe I should work with them because those guys are way over there. And the reality is that the people on the other side of the field don't care about passing legislation. They just want to stop the Democrats from passing legislation. And how many times, if you pass this bill, boy, oh boy, are we going to campaign against you? Wait a second, you're not going to campaign against me if I didn't pass the bill? Is that what you're saying? Well, no, not really. Of course not. You're going to call them a San Francisco liberal and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. And I want a Democratic president that when the far right in this country starts screaming, he's a San Francisco liberal, doesn't look at them like, no, I'm not. What do I have to vote with you on to prove that I'm not? You know, I would like a Democratic candidate that says, heck, I love sourdough, man. I'm all over that sourdough action. Give me some seafood. It's the West Coast. So that's my concern. And that's the question I want you to ask yourself. And maybe I'll see if Dean wants to come on here. I mean, I would love to have him on. I would. The Dean Phillips, he's always generally available if primary season, before the primaries are up, but I generally can't get him at all any other time. I would love to have him come on. And I think that's the litmus test. If you were the governor of the state of Minnesota, would you have signed all those bills? Would you have passed them? Would you have basically, done what Governor Walz did outside of, once again, Walz did veto the Uber Lyft bill, but overall he signed on with the Democratic agenda. Would Dean Phillips have done the same thing? Because my gut feeling is he probably wouldn't have. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll talk about the crisis that is water when we do return. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
Your hosts for Searching for Service. Tune into Rotary's influential show and podcast, sharing touching stories of service locally and abroad.
We bring you weekly guests that connect, inform, and inspire our listeners on all things service.
We highlight diverse service opportunities that appeal to both Rotarians and people driven to serve in their communities.
Tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. or anytime via podcast. It's time
To stop searching
and start serving.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hi, this is Paul Metza. Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour for the last 5 years on AM 950. We air every Saturday night at 6 p.m. We have artists, musicians, private detectives, politicians, and more. On AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
I'm Angela Warner for Warner Stallion. Sometimes appliances break. Other times you spend years wishing they would. We get it. That's why right now we're paying you to upgrade with our trade-in sale. We'll pay you $50 for each appliance you replace. Our in-store specialists take out the guesswork of wondering what's the best one and which one will fit. Then Warner Stallion professional crews will deliver, install, and take your old stuff away, saving you time and money. So outsource your stress and shop family-owned Warner Stallion.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. I got to talk about some water here because, once again, we're full with guests coming pretty much after this point for the rest of the show. 952-946-6205. A story that was breaking here. As a matter of fact, I want to thank Sally Jo Sorensen over at Bluestem Prairie for sending me this story before the end of the show. It was a warning that was put out by the Worthington Globe newspaper about Ellsworth, the town of Ellsworth. And this is not good. The city of Ellsworth has issued a drinking water warning after water samples collected July 18th and July 24th showed high level of nitrates. Do not give that water to infants under 6 months old or use it to make infant formula, this notice says in bold text above the rest of the information. Nitrate levels of 15 milligrams were detected, which exceeds the nitrate standard and maximum containment level of 10.4. Nitrates in drinking water is a serious health concern for infants less than 6 months old. Nitrates can come from natural, industrial, or agricultural sources, including septic systems and runoff. It's out there. It's all coming from the ag systems. The notice emphasizes the water should not be given to infants and that those younger than 6 months who drink water with nitrates higher than 10.4 milligrams could become seriously ill and if untreated and even die. Symptoms include shortness of breath, blue baby syndrome, which is indicated by blueness of the skin. Infant symptoms can develop rapidly with health deteriorating over a period of days. Do not boil the water. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting. This is not something you can boil away, apparently, the notice states. Again, in bold text, boiling, freezing, filtering, or letting water stand does not reduce the nitrate levels. Excessive boiling even can concentrate the nitrate levels. Yikes. Ellsworth Water System is exploring methods to reduce levels of nitrate on that. Now, that's from Blue Stem Prairie. I did as well have we had the story come out about Enbridge Energy. Now, okay, let me talk about Ellsworth really quick here first, because once again, you remember when we were talking about paid family sick leave and Republicans were saying, well, we'll just make it voluntary. The businesses don't have to do it, but we'll give them the option. They'll get a tax break if they do. Now, I pointed out that's a joke. That's not really going to happen. That actually did happen in New Hampshire, and hardly anyone took advantage of it. And the reason why is that it's the good old boy network, especially in rural Minnesota. Say you have a company that says, you know what, I'm going to give my employees this benefit. All of a sudden, you get the call from the head of the Chamber of Commerce saying, hey, how about we grab lunch the next day? And so you go there, and it's the entire Chamber of Commerce, and they're looking at you and saying, if you do this, we will run you out of town. We will shut your business down and run you out of town because we will not tolerate a business in this town giving them a socialist handout. Now, pardon me while I go get my ag check, my big fat ag check. Anyway, the funny story, hypocrites. That being said, that's the thing, is that if you make these things voluntary, the reality is nothing gets done. And there have been these efforts to try to stop the nitrates voluntarily. And guess what? The farmers aren't going to do it. And right now, my guess is going to be the farmers in Ellsworth are still not going to do this. And the reason why is because they just don't care. They just don't care. They would rather poison the water supply than potentially lose, part of the not even guarantee, just potentially lose part of their harvest. They don't want to lose a bushel per acre or anything like that. So that's the crazy part. And this is why you cannot just, if you want real change to happen, then you can't just put in a voluntary system, because a voluntary system doesn't work. And by the way, let me also point out, guarantee you there are Republicans that are down that area who are, when it comes down to trying to put out rules to regulate nitrates, they're like, how about you namby-pamby city folk? Keep your nose out of our business. And now all of a sudden their nitrate levels are so bad they're poisoning young children. It's all of a sudden the same exact people. Why aren't you people helping us? We need a $500 million water treatment facility to get all this out of there. Why aren't you helping us? Republicans don't want to ever ask for permission. They only want to ask for forgiveness. And you apply it here. They're never going to work hard to try to stop this on the front end, a la things like global warming. But then they'll basically, well, we need to save my town, my business, my house. Disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, Enbridge Energy. They are working to fix another aquifer rupture caused by construction of the Line 3 replacement oil pipeline across northern Minnesota. The Canadian oil company and the state of Department of Natural Resources confirmed the breach in Aiken County on Thursday after it was first announced by Healing Minnesota Stories and a water activist group tracking Line 3's environmental impacts called forgive me, or Those Who Help the Beaver. I'll go with I do not want to completely mispronounce the Native American name. Those Who Help the Beaver. The new breach is the fourth confirmed among the route of the pipeline, which started operating in the fall of 2024. Four breaches of aquifers, 4 of them. Plus, we punched a whole bunch of holes in the bottom of the Mississippi River. Oh, God. They couldn't be trusted ever. The rupture happened near Moose Lake in Aiken County, a wild rice lake in the area of wetlands and peat bogs considered to have outstanding biodiversity. It is near an unincorporated community called Swatara in Mackville Township, according to the DNR. In a statement, the DNR said it's investigating the construction impacts of Moose Lake and described it as remotely and hydrologically complex place. I'm sorry. Here we are once again. here we are once again, and I am going to take the time that when this Line 3 was being discussed, that Enbridge and the Republicans and a few Democrats and a few union guys were all sitting there when the environmental activists were saying, this is not safe to do. This is going to cause damage to the water system. We can't have that. They all sat there and were the biggest jackasses ever. Oh, look at you, worrywarts, worrying about nothing. This is going to be the safest pipeline ever. You're just doom and glooming it. Look at your exaggerations. You're nothing. You're worthless. You don't even know what you're talking about. This is going to be safe. It's perfectly safe. And now all of a sudden, those almost said the bad word. Those jackasses. Now, all of them are sitting there going, well, I don't have anything to say. I don't know. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. We told them this was what was going to happen. We said that this is what was going to happen. They mocked us and ridiculed us and said it wasn't going to be that bad. And guess what? We were right. They were lying. And my gut feeling is they all knew it would be an environmental nightmare, and they still mocked everyone away. And by the way, we still haven't discussed the numerous amounts of sexual assault that happened with the work crews that were involved with Line 3. We still haven't discussed that. That was pretty bad. Don't want to discuss that, but hey, to the Enbridge pipeline, the Enbridge people who do not care about Minnesota, to the Republicans, to some of the Democrats that were on board with this, and to the pro-union guys that said, oh, this was not going to be a big deal. Shut up. Hey, at least how about you grow a freaking spine and come out and have a press conference and you say, you know what? We were wrong. We were wrong. We should not have done this. This is not environmentally safe. We shouldn't have done this. Nope. You're quiet. You have nothing to say now. Oh, what a shock. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. Healthcare for all when we do return. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Tune in this Saturday morning right here on AM 950 for the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show from 7 to 8 a.m. We'll be discussing the difference between synthetic and organic fertilizers, which is better or is there one, and tomatoes, what's harvesting out of your garden, canned and fresh dishes. Our guest is author Benjamin Voigt, and we'll answer your garden question. That's all this Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. right here on AM 950. Tell a friend and let's grow together.
Is your remote workforce putting your company at risk? Cyber criminals are targeting your employees with COVID-19 inspired emails and attacking businesses like yours. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. Rymark has the tools and expertise to enable your employees to work securely from home. If you need help getting your staff to work remotely and securely, call 651-328-8900 or go to rymarkit.com. That's 651-328-8900 or rymarkit.com.
The Park Tavern in St. Louis Park is your summer destination. The patio is amazing, perfect for you and your friends to grab dinner and drinks. Enjoy a game of cornhole while you indulge in the great food. The full Park Tavern menu is available outside. The Park Tavern also has live music on the patio every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even some Mondays through the summer. Reservations are highly recommended. And if the weather does turn, the bowling lanes at the Park Tavern are always open and are spectacular. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, the perfect summer is waiting for you at the Park Tavern.
Hey AM 950 listeners, my name is JP Derbogosian, and I host This Queer Book Saved My Life, the show where LGBTQ guests discuss the queer books that saved their lives in conversation with the very authors who wrote them. This week I sit down with Nicole Olilla to discuss the novel Out of Time, and its author, Paula Martinek, joins us. Plus we have new books coming out from Tess Sharp and Michelle Kirichanskaya. I hope you can join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
When it comes to houses, disassembly is our game, deconstruction is our fame. There are some bucks for your project. Better Futures Minnesota is your contact.
Instead of demolishing your home, let us take it apart by hand, and we can find the building materials a new home. Limited funds are allotted in 2023 for Hennepin County residents and public entities to make deconstruction even more affordable. Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 89. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. And Saturday, sunny with a high near 83.
Get paid to upgrade. Warner Stellian will buy your appliance for $50 during our trade-in sale. No one else saves you more time from shopping to free professional delivery like Warner Stellian. Put us to the test. Shop Minnesota family-owned WarnerStellian.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Joining us right now is from Healthcare for All board chair Rose Roach. Also, other board chair is Dave Garibaldi, and also Scott Denoyer. He is a single-payer healthcare activist from upstate New York who became involved with the insurance corporation when worth $6.1 billion denied his son's mental health medications over a late $20 managed medical payment costing him, his son, his life. He became involved in trying to make sure health care for all is something that is realized. This weekend, there is going to be an event. This is going to be over in Edina on Saturday from 1 until 4 at the Edina Public Library. They're kind enough today to join us to talk about that event and their fight to get health care for all. Hi, all. How are you doing?
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Can I say this before we get started? I got hit by a drunk driver in December. He broke my back. I've got good health insurance. It has cost me and my wife, tens of thousands of dollars on just health insurance, covering health costs alone. This is a broken system if I've ever seen it, because how in the world, even when you have good health insurance, are you already looking at massive bills? This is just currently it is a broken system.
Yeah, I would say, is it a healthcare system or is it a healthcare marketplace? Some would say that maybe the system isn't broken. It's working exactly the way it's supposed to, but it isn't working for the right people, meaning it's not working for patients and it's not working for providers. And that's why we've got to get to a single payer Medicare for all or Minnesota health plan type system that centers patients and providers as the foundation of the system, and stop thinking it's okay morally to profit off of another human being suffering. I'm so sorry that is happening to you. Unfortunately, I don't even know what good insurance means anymore.
Well, and that's kind of the realization I came up with. I imagine the executives of corporations have really good stuff, but the rest of us, I mean, unless you're making in the six figures, I don't know if it's really going to be something that's viable there. Dave, let's have you chat a little bit about, first of all, let's get the background about what is this event that's coming up here tomorrow.
Well, Matt, all over the country this weekend, there's events like this celebrating the 58th anniversary of the signing of Medicare into law. And we're hosting this one in Edina. And to celebrate our cherished Medicare program and to call attention to the very real threats posed to Medicare by privatization. Privatization is flying under the radar. Most of the media will not even talk about it, but Medicare Advantage programs are making off with upwards to around $100 billion a year of overcharging the Medicare Trust Fund. And this is not a good thing. It's going to annihilate traditional Medicare if we let it continue like this. And like Rose was saying, the Medicare for All bills in Congress would solve all of this, as would our single-payer health plan in the state, the Minnesota Health Plan. So we're out there to educate people. We're going to have some fun this weekend, have some treats and some door prizes, but we're here to educate people about what we need to do to stop this insanity that's going on.
And Dave, if I can expand on that a little bit here, one of the things, I mean, we talk about this all the time, whether that's in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I mean, it's a huge issue out in rural America, and you'll look at them and you'll say, maybe we should expand Medicare, and they'll say, no, we can't do that, but we need to get affordable health care. And you want to just look at them and say, okay, do you understand that if you stay in the current private market system, which is designed to make money, it's a profit. Oh, they make a ton of profit. I just saw the Star Tribune story a few weeks ago about who the top paid executives were. They're making coin. If you keep with that system, you're just not going to get the effective coverage. And I think, regardless of that, someone who's working in the city, working at a restaurant, or someone who's working on a farm, I think the last thing they should have to worry about is, if I get injured, do I have coverage? I mean, I think there's a hard time, I think, getting that message across, is that there's a real simple solution out here, which will be more cost effective and better for everyone.
Yeah, Matt, we're already spending far more than we need to on healthcare in this country, far more than any other developed country. All of our wealthy peers just look at us and shake their heads.
Yeah.
The money's all going in the wrong profits, massive profiteering from the corporate executives, and stockholders are getting big pays, and that's all instead of going for patient care. What do we need to be wasting money on stuff that isn't for patient care?
Matt, can I just add, you hit on a really important point, because we are experiencing a rural healthcare crisis across this country. And when you have big corporations that are consolidating and running our healthcare system, whether that's pharma, whether that is insurance companies, or whether that is big hospital corporations, they're making decisions in these rural areas to say, well, we're going to stop giving maternity care, in our hospital. And now we have women traveling 50 miles in Minnesota in the middle of a blizzard to deliver a baby safely. They're creating healthcare deserts, and it's all around this idea that somehow, this consolidation is better. They're going to do competition with each other. It's not happening. It is proven over and over again to not actually decrease costs or improve quality. So more and more people in the rural areas, and we specifically work with like Land Stewardship Project folks and Farmers Union, they're getting it. And they're understanding that there has to be a massive change. Just these little incremental moves here and there that further entrench the for-profit industry is not helping farmers grow their business. It's not helping people be entrepreneurs if they want to. Why do we allow our bosses to control our access to healthcare? For God's sakes, I come out of labor after 34 years. Bosses use that as a weapon in the class warfare that we're engaged in. We have to stop this insane system and guarantee healthcare to everybody. And you know why? Because it's a human need. That's why.
It absolutely is. And by the way, I will say this, it does seem like in rural parts of the country, they're starting to figure this out, that we have plenty of experience that when we open this up to a free market, it doesn't drop prices. On the contrary, you get less service and it costs you more. But the reality is I think that they're realizing that the system out there, you're starting to see things change. Whether that leads to a wholesale change across the board, we can only hope. But if I can, Scott, let's chat with you, Scott DeNoyer. You obviously, to a point, are like me, only your story is a very sad, very tragic story that got you involved and realized that if we don't change this, I mean, how many people like your son have the same problem where they're losing their lives because of a lack of healthcare affordability because of the system that's in place?
Well, I can tell you, thank you again for having us on, because it's like you said, this is so important to me, because it is so personal to me. That number that was given to us by the Yale study was 68,000 lives a year. It was a conservative study, and I'm sure that's way under the mark. That number, what that reflects is 68,000 lives a year could have been saved with a medical treatment that was available but was unaffordable. When we're looking at the numbers, it's just unreal that we pay twice as much as the next closest country, and for that cost, we have a 10-year shorter lifespan. And you bring up the free market, and the movie that we're in, that I'm in, Healing Us, there is a Dr. Jarvis, who is a conservative from Utah, with that exact message to our far right brethren that's out there, that there is no place for healthcare or for insurance in our healthcare system, because free market does not work. There is no exchange between supply and demand, and not to mention it's constitutionally correct and the morally right thing to do.
You would think Okay, so I got into a conversation with a Canadian comedian, Brittlestar, whose sister-in-law had a health emergency in Canada, and he talked a little bit about this. And someone in Canada started, griping about the Canadian healthcare system, and I stepped in really quick and said, "Trust me, I would much rather have the Canadian healthcare system." You would think it would dawn on people that being the worst case scenario option to scare people into realizing their system is much better, being the United States, might not be the compliment that people think it is in this country, that the healthcare system is so atrocious it's worldwide known as, oh dear Lord, we don't want that.
Right. I mean, we all hear about how the Canadians have to wait a longer time for a hip replacement. They don't tell us why. That's actually a fact. And the reason why is because they're living 10 years longer. How many more hip replacements would we have in America if we lived 10 years longer? And would we have the doctors to meet that need? And the answer is quite simple. No, we wouldn't. They prioritize emergency care and preventative care, and they live longer, so they have to wait longer for elective care. But not even that much longer, to be honest.
Well, and going back to Rose's point, you'll get people say, "Well, I don't want to have to wait for a doctor, but I guess I'll have to drive 60 minutes to go give birth to a child." It is a goofed up system that it clearly. And like I said, we do have a solution that really kind of fixes everything, except it doesn't guarantee these obscene profits to these companies that have been living basically high on the hog off American suffering for decades.
That's right. And, Matt, when people talk about the Canadian system, and I went up to to Saskatchewan, I actually met one of the men who worked with Tommy Douglas, believe it or not, to help write the first law that was passed up there in Saskatchewan province that then became their national system, and met with the nurses up there to find out how that system works from a patient, provider, and as union members perspective. And I'll tell you, yes, people may wait for, as Scott said, for elective procedures, just like we do down here, by the way. But nobody in Canada dies waiting for healthcare. That doesn't happen, and that happens in this country all the time.
Yep. No, it does. And like I said, we have a solution. It just is, and let's make sure that understand the entire system. The people who are making all the profit are spending millions of dollars a year to convince you that system is the best system to keep in place because they don't want to lose the profits. So they shave off a slight bit of their wealth, basically convincing fools to vote against their best concerns, and we end up having a worse system for it. I'm of hope that this is going to change. If Dave, let's talk a little bit more about tomorrow. So you're going to be over at the Edina Library. That's on York Avenue, I believe it is. Tell us a little bit about what's going to be happening over there, what you're going to have between 1 and 4.
Well, we're going to have a lot of interesting speakers, and Rose Roach here is going to be one of them. Our other colleague, Ann Jones, is going to be there to talk about Medicare history, how we came to this point in time. And Rose is going to touch on the incremental approach we've been using for decades that hasn't gotten us anywhere. It's called managed care. And then our good friend Kip Sullivan, who is a nationally published healthcare policy expert, is going to be talking about Medicare Advantage specifically, and how, as I mentioned before, it is gaming the system to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, and we've got to come to terms with that. You never see that on the mainstream media, so thank you, Matt, today for having us on to actually say that, and I'm so glad to be able to say that. There's just so many players in this terrible trough that we're in. But the other thing is AG Keith Ellison is going to stop by.
Good.
And he's been a long-time single-payer advocate. And also, I have heard that Ilhan Omar might also make an appearance and give us some remarks. We're going to have remarks from a local small businessman named Kevin Brown, Smart Set Printing. And we're going to also have some remarks from some dignitaries like state senators and some local dignitaries as well. That's state senator, legislators in general. There's going to be a few of them there, and we've got a few on video. Senator John Marty, who wrote the Minnesota Health Plan, which is our state single payer plan, will be doing an audio greeting because he is not able to join today.
It's good that you're getting this out there and you're getting this information out there, because we do get sidetracked in this state. We just, okay, great. I'm glad that we do not have the Sanford Fairview merger going through, but as you guys are pointing out, that's kind of a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It's not, the system is still having a lot of problems, and we got to fix this. Although Sanford definitely has a reputation. That being said, the solution, and once again, is out there, and it's simple. And if I may just in talk with Scott here one last time as well. Scott, I think that the thing that you and I probably can both attest to, and you obviously from the depths of your heart here, the fact is that the caring, the compassion, the humanity of a healthcare system, which is supposed to exist, where the idea is you take care of people, that is what's being sacrificed in lieu of procedural errors, which end up costing your son his life, or just the profit margins because we got to get that share price up. It's kind of one of those things where you almost kind of wonder where has this gone? How have we gotten to the point where the people that are running the healthcare industry in this country just don't have any compassion for the people that need healthcare?
Well, I'll tell you, this actually started right at the birth of HMOs when it was sold to Nixon. And it was told to him, the less health care they give, the more money they make. And Nixon's like, oh, that's good. That's good. You can hear that on the movie Sicko with the tapes that he has on there. But just like Amy Villela said in the movie Healings, it is a profit-driven system. They can be sued if they're not acting in the best interest of their shareholders, not in the best interest of the patient, in the best interest of their shareholders. That's a direct quote from Amy Villela, who lost her daughter Shalyn, from the greed of the healthcare system. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen. We are going to remove this insurance mafia from our healthcare system that will destroy our children, destroy us, and profit off of our pain and our suffering, because they have no place in our healthcare.
Rose, I'm going to let you have the final say here. Why don't you remind everyone once again where this is going, what's going to happen tomorrow, and then if people, whether they can make it tomorrow or not, want to find out more information about Healthcare for All Minnesota, where can they find more information about it?
Sure. So tomorrow's event is going to be from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Southdale Library at 7001 York Avenue South. That's in Edina. And if you want more information, because you can't join us tomorrow, please go to the Healthcare for All Minnesota. Just Google Healthcare for All Minnesota, and you will get our website, and you can find out all kinds of really good information, fact sheets, just about anything you want to know is on there. And Matt, could I just ask if I could just really quickly end this by reading a blog by a nurse from Minnesota who wrote this at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, because it speaks to why we got to fight for this system. Her name is Emily Pascala, and she said, if I die, I don't want to be remembered as a hero. I want my death to make you angry too. I want you to politicize my death. I want you to use it as fuel to demand change in this industry, to demand protection, living wages, and safe working conditions for nurses and all workers. Use my death to mobilize others. Use my name at the bargaining table. Use my name to shame those who have profited or failed to act, leaving us to clean up the mess. Don't say heaven has gained an angel. Tell them negligence and greed has murdered a person for choosing a career dedicated to compassion and service. That's why we fight.
Healthcare for All Minnesota. It's hca-mn.org. I'll link to that a little bit later on all the social media pages. Rose Roach, Scott Denoyer, and Dave Garibaldi. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining me today. I appreciate all your information, and Healthcare for All Minnesota. Find that website for all the information that they have. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Much love.
Great. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950. You hear a lot about Rudy Luther Toyota's hybrid cars, but maybe you're asking yourself, are they worth it? Let me say from experience, absolutely. I have a Toyota Sienna hybrid, and the proof is in the gas tank. Before my hybrid, I was filling up my tank once a week. Now it's consistently every 2 weeks. I did the math, and my hybrid is saving me over $1,000 every year. And the Toyota hybrids are some of the most stylish and comfortable vehicles you'll ever drive. Now's the time to get a Toyota hybrid. Set up a time to test drive one today at Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
I'm Angela Warner for Warner Stellium. Sometimes appliances break. Other times you spend years wishing they would. We get it. That's why right now we're paying you to upgrade with our trade-in sale. We'll pay you $50 for each appliance you replace. Our in-store specialists take out the guesswork of wondering what's the best one and which one will fit. Then Warner Stellium professional crews will deliver, install, and take your old stuff away, saving you time and money. So outsource your stress and shop family-owned Warner Stellium.
The Powderhorn Art Fair is returning to Powderhorn Park to celebrate its 32nd anniversary, August 5th and 6th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. The fair will feature a vibrant and diverse selection of art from over 150 exhibiting artists from across the country. Whether you're just starting an art collection or a seasoned buyer, they'll have the perfect piece for you. Plus, there's more. Immersive art installations offer fairgoers a chance to explore interactive experiences that transport them into an artist's vision. In addition to all the fantastic art, over a dozen food vendors serving up sweet and savory delights will be ready for you and other hungry fairgoers. A family zone will offer creative activities for kids of all ages and entertainment each day. The fair and activities are free to attendees. Make plans to head to Powderhorn Park on August 5th and 6th. Learn more at powderhornartfair.com.
Oh yeah, we've got a problem here with this whole thing. That's for sure. It is comical whenever I hear someone sort of sit there and make the point and try to make the argument. Oh well, these healthcare systems that you have, they're going to be you have to wait. There's no options, dude. I was in the military. We went biking. We biked from Nuremberg one weekend, Nuremberg down to Munich, and one of the guys took a spill, hurt his leg real bad. We walked into a hospital there. He got a cast, got taken care of. Well, it was all this stuff. $15. And that was the expensive rate. If we were actual German citizens, it would have been free. $15. That's a healthcare system. No stress, no worry, no nothing like that. You know, it does bring up the point at how good corporate America and Republicans are at getting people to vote against their own best interests. We'll give you health care for all. Oh, yeah, I don't want that. I want to work 3 jobs so I can barely afford to have health care as it is. Okay, you don't seem to understand. We're going to give you it for free. Socialism, commie, no. Now, if you can only do something about the cost of health care, we want to make it basically almost free for you. No. Unless I don't know where you go with that. All I know is this. I got hit by a drunk driver. I didn't do anything wrong. I had my back broken in 2 places, and I'm back. I'm recovering. We had good health insurance, and it still cost us 5 figures. That's not a good system. Hour 2. Paul Metz up next.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Upside, the free app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back just for buying the gas I was going to buy anyway.
But is it a hassle to use?
No, it's super fast and easy, and I can cash out whenever I want.
That's That's a total no-brainer. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code HEAT for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code HEAT. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code HEAT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code HEAT.
Your Need to Know News headquarters, the Tom Hartman Program, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Wall Street finished higher, the Dow up 177 points. Investors like the latest signs from the government. Inflation is cooling. Consumer prices rose last month at their slowest pace in more than 2 years, and wage growth cooled last quarter. President Biden spoke from a textile manufacturing facility in Auburn, Maine.
I came to office determined to move from a trickle-down economics that everyone from the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal and it's called Bidenomics, with a plan that's working, building from the bottom up, middle out.
The president joked Republicans may have to find something new to criticize him for now that inflation is coming down, maybe impeach him. Sources tell the AP the U.S. will provide $345 million in military aid for Taiwan in a package drawing on America's stockpiles. It would be the Biden administration's first major package intended to speed up military aid to help Taiwan counter China. Nearly 200 million people, 60% of the country's population, are under a heat advisory or flood warning or watch. Places like New York and Washington are feeling the extreme heat now, too. Jeremy Hoffman, Director of Climate Justice and Impact at Groundworks, is worried about vulnerable people.
When we're talking about how to keep people safe, we not only need to be thinking about the neighborhoods that are disproportionately warmer during these heat waves, but the folks that can't avoid being outside during these heat waves, people that rely on public transportation, people that work outside.
The new prosecutor in Oklahoma's biggest county announced she's dropping criminal charges against 7 police officers in 3 separate fatal police shootings in 2020. The backup Uber driver for a self-driving vehicle that killed a pedestrian in suburban Phoenix in 2018 pleaded guilty today to endangerment in the first fatal collision involving a fully autonomous car. This is AP News.
Want my secret for how to prep for summer getaways and get-togethers and get everything for less? Get to Kohl's. I just shopped their friends and family sale and saved an extra 20% on sunny day essentials like tees and tanks for my family for $9.99, a cute pair of shorts for me, and everything we needed to set up our patio. So get to Kohl's and save on cool finds for hot days. You'll thank me later. Select styles. 20% offer ends July 30th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FRE.
It's an absolute must for any true foodie. Vinaigrette at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis offers premium oils and vinegars for the most discriminating of tastes. This is Sarah Piepenberg, owner of Vinaigrette. We bottle on-site, there's no guesswork, and you get to taste test each and every oil and vinegar we offer. Our direct relationship with the growers ensures an uncompromised level of satisfaction. When you need to know you're cooking with the finest ingredients, first contact the independently owned Vinaigrette, 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Online at vinaigrettemn.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is having their annual sale for the entire month of July. All of their indoor and outdoor fireplace products and accessories are at the lowest price of the year.
Did you know that now there's also a 30% federal tax credit when you install an efficient wood heating stove or fireplace? At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we can explain and show you the many options. We have the Twin Cities' widest selection of wood-burning stoves and fireplaces.
I love my wood stove. We enjoy the sense of well-being we get by cutting and splitting wood to warm our home. Wood is our choice, but you may have other choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Whether transforming an existing fireplace or adding something new, a clean-burning wood, gas, or electric fire can have you sitting pretty and cozy by the fire.
Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces Fireplaces at Riverside and East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis or at woodlandstoves.com. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, since 1977, out of the ordinary products and services to make fire work for you.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 89, tonight partly cloudy with a low around 65, and Saturday sunny with a high near 83. Since 1984, Cafe Latte has been serving up the freshest baked goods and modern comfort food in a cafeteria setting. Their menu is prepared with the best ingredients available. Cafe Latte is a leader in sustainable dining, composting their food and paper waste along with recycling everything they can. Located off Victoria and Grand in St. Paul or at cafelatte.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Friday. Matt and Patrick, 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We're just going to talk to the guy until he's tired of talking. Paul Metza is kind enough to join us today. Of course, a troubadour extraordinaire, great musician, a Minnesotan's Minnesotan. And of course, you can listen to Wall of Power Radio Hour Saturday night, 6 p.m. right here on AM 950. Joining us from his palatial compound. Are you up in Duluth right now?
I am in my living room waiting to talk to my favorite daytime radio host, Mr. Matt McNeil on AM 950.
Oh, I thought it was going to be someone else. Oh, great. Good. How have you been, my friend?
Oh, I've been good. I was up in your territory last night. I played a gig kind of featured in my book, Alphabet Jazz, at the Esquagama Country Club. And the last time I was there, a handful of years ago, I was honored to play at a memorial for your father, Charles.
Yeah. And you said you name dropped my dad up there. They still
dropped him.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and he got a nice round of recognition. I need to tell your listeners, Matt, about your dad's sense of humor. Your dad was good friends with a fellow named John Pasternak, who still plays with me in Cats and the Stars. And the Pasternakis grew up around Esquagama, and he was good friends with your dad, Charles. And he bumped into your dad, I don't know, I guess it was 6 or 7 years ago at a Rolling Stones concert in Minneapolis.
Yes.
And he said, Charlie, goes, I had no idea you're a Rolling Stones fan. And your dad said, damn, I thought this was the Beatles. That's funny. That's pure comedy gold.
My mom was still is a huge Rolling Stones fan. And my dad, of course, got dragged around to all the concerts, but he didn't mind it there. My dad was, he liked Willie Nelson. He liked Randy Newman. He likes that sort of thing, kind of, and of course, he was always quick-witted, which was always fun. I might have picked a little bit of that up for him.
Well, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree, does it?
Well, it was funny. I did go to, I don't even know if you know this artist, Rex Orange County. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
Nor did I. But apparently everyone who's under the age of 20 in this country does. And I was over at the Armory to see that show. I was literally even the staff was younger than me. I was by far the oldest man in that crowd. And it wasn't bad. It was just, I really did feel out of place. My dad never did. He always went out there and enjoyed everything he did.
Well, bless him. It's funny you should mention that, Matt. A couple weeks ago, I had a woman. She was 93. She had since passed, but she grew up. She spent some time in Virginia, knew my mother. She saw that great article that John Bream did about me in the variety section in the Strib a couple of months ago, and called me to play at the Seniors Co-op at 7500 York Avenue South in Edina. So we had about 100 people. Average age was 80. And then last night at the Esquagama Country Club, average age was about 80. But I got it, which is probably my new demographic, by the way. But I got to tell you what's beautiful about playing for those folks. Nobody is scrolling through their phone during the concert. They're actually listening. What a concept.
Well, we always went down. The last concert my dad went to, we went and saw, it was John Lee Walker, who is the blues artist. We went down, we were in Port Royal, South Carolina. They're doing a street concert with this guy. I mean, he was great. And I believe he's in the Blues Hall of Fame. And
it could have been Joe Louis Walker.
Joe Louis Walker, yes, thank you, Joe Louis Walker. And he was playing, and my dad, who was, at that point was somewhat deteriorating in health, he got up. I mean, he just loved it, and that was one of the things. I have a house, and you got to be the same exact way. I grew up in a house that had music on all the time.
All the time.
It didn't matter. Could be classical, could be blues, could be rock, could be pop, could be jazz. I had music on, and that was one of the great things I think my dad did, is that he gave me an appreciation for music. And yeah, we had a blast. And that was, by the way, you and I do need to go do that. They have a festival down there that does blues throughout the summer with that food in South Carolina, right on the coast. It is magnificent.
Oh, you call me anytime.
It'd be great.
Speaking of food, you and I always get around to talking about our favorite food, the pasty.
Oh, yeah.
And today I had a doctor's appointment in Duluth that I had to get back to. I spent the night with this woman, a good friend of mine. I stayed at her cabin on the couch. We grew up from kindergarten to senior high together, and she's restoring an old cabin without electricity on Lake Esquagama that she picked up about 10 years ago. So I thought, if I get up early enough, I'm going to make it to Paul's Market in Evelyn to get the best pasty on the Iron Range. But I ran a little late. We took a little tour through the woods. So I was going to come back with about a half a dozen pasties. But as you and I know, Paul's Market is the best pasty on the Iron Range.
Hands down, not even close. I mean, and it was funny because my grandparents, when they're up there in Virginia, they said they moved there, and of course my on one side of my family was the town doctor, Charles B. Lennon, up there in Virginia. On the other side was Emerson Duncan Sr., who is one of the foremen of one of the mines, worked the mines up there. And they came in there and they said, thank God the Italians got in, because the Scandinavians couldn't bake to save themselves. And so they basically came in, the Italians came in, and with that big immigrant group, and they said that there was like almost overnight an immediate change, that everything smelled so much better because the food, the baking was just this great Italian markets. And of course, you and I grew up in the range there. I mean, the Italian markets were everywhere. That was just part of the culture. And yeah, that is, they figured out the pasty crust really well. And Paul's over in Evelyn, they are holding that tradition down.
He nails it. It's funny. Our best friends, my mom and dad's, and our families, was the Paglicettis. My dad, elder, met Satat with John Paglicetty, the Mount Iron school system. And once a month, they'd have us over for lasagna or spaghetti or whatever the Italian meal was of that Sunday night. And actually, their son, Gary, was the drummer in my first band. When I was in sixth grade, Gary was in seventh, The Positive Reaction. And so we go over there. And when I was a little kid, I'd ask my mother, I said, Mom, can we become Catholics? And she said, why? And I said, because I love the cooking.
Oh, they were good. Oh, you couldn't deny it. Oh, there was a Scottish recipe called bannocks, which were basically, they were hockey pucks. Literally think about this: hard fried bread that was, I guess you put syrup on there just so you could suck it off the thing. And an Italian baker basically saw the recipe, goes, you need to fix this. And they made them, and they became kind of a family tradition with my family because they were all of a sudden edible. And so everyone was like, wow, we're making bannocks again. This is great.
Well, across the street from my dad's office was a mainstay for years. Presti, who was elected Evelyn, worked there.
Oh, Paul, you're cutting out a little bit there. We're kind of missing you quite a bit here.
Oh.
I'll tell you what, Patrick, why don't you pot him down and see if we can, reconnect with him here really quick and see if we can get him, because we lost him pretty good there. No, this is you're listening to a conversation. This is what Paul Metza and I talk about. We just talk about life in northern Minnesota and the stuff that we do there. And absolutely, this is it's kind of part of the culture that you have up there. And so we're good there. Give it a try. All right, good. Paul, you back with us?
I'm back.
Okay, beautiful. So no, you were saying who was across the street from you?
Well, it was the Italian bakery, and One of Frank Lepresti, who I think played for the Chicago Blackhawks, legendary goalie from Evelyn. His wife was one of the owners there. But to get back to the Peglicettis, Gary Pegliceti was the drummer in my first band, ended up becoming one of the youngest judges in Minnesota. At the age of 29, he became a St. Louis County judge based in Virginia until he just retired 2 years ago.
Wow, really? That's amazing. I mean, 29. That's a nice
29
run.
years old. Yep. A great run. Very well respected judge. I just bumped into him at Costco a couple months ago. We hadn't seen each other in years. It was a lovely reunion.
Have okay, so you were at Esquagma, which for everyone out there is kind of near Gilbert and Bawabic. You can go up there, you can go there. It's a pretty decent golf course if you do like to play the golf. 9 holes there. You can try that out, but alternate holes. You're in Duluth, which we'll get to talk about that because I got some surprising news for you in there in a second. But are you getting much up on the range besides some of these shows?
Yeah, I've been getting up. We've been doing a lot of work on our cabin on Lake Vermilion.
Yeah.
So, as you know, cabin life, anybody that's got a cabin, you go up there for 3 days, and 2.5 days you're cutting wood, mowing lawns, fixing things. But yeah, Lake Vermilion is one of the nicest freshwater lakes in the world. So I've been able to get up there. I'll be going up there again next week. But I got to tell you, now I'm a worse golfer than Donald Trump, but I like to go out once or twice a year. And when I got done with the show last night, a guy named Tim, I don't recall his last name, the president of the country club, I said, who do I got to talk to get a round of golf up here? He gave me his number. So Matt, you and I are going to the Esquagma Country Club. We're going to golf. I imagine you're a little better than I am, but it's on me. I can't wait. We got to do the Iron Range tour anyway. We've been talking about it for years.
Well, I'm going to be up there more now because my oldest daughter is going to UMD. So
nice.
Yeah, and then we're taking her up there in a few weeks, getting her into school up there. So I will be in on Duluth, and so I'm going to be stopping by and pestering you. I hope you do know this.
All the time. Anybody coming up here that was a fan of my music, I've got a beautiful weekly gig on Wednesday nights, happy hour from 6 to 8 at a place called the Blackwater Lounge, which is right next to the old Hotel Duluth, 231 East Superior Street. And because I'm a Teamster, because I'm in the music union, so I've talked them into having a healthcare happy hour, healthcare workers happy hour. So if you are in the healthcare business, nurse, doctor, EMT, you come down to my show on a Wednesday night from 6 to 8 at the Blackwater Lounge. You get 20% off whatever you're eating or drinking.
Sounds, once again, Wednesday, 6 to 8, Blackwater Lounge on East Superior. Stop on by for that. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I got to take you. I might have to haul you out to a Bulldog football game this fall here. I might have to do that.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
So I got to ask you one thing. As a guy that's been living in Duluth now for a while, that New York Times article, there was an article in Racket here in town that said all that you're seeing up on the North Shore is a bunch of Los Angeles people moving up to Duluth. It's not that bad. I mean, there are some people moving there because it's affordable and it's a cute town, and you're right there on Lake Superior. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But it's not like being overrun, is it?
Oh, no, but it is. CNN about 6 months ago did a long piece on climate refugees in Duluth. So they had spoken to several people, one lady getting out of the wildfires in Northern California, a couple from Phoenix that, getting out of the heat. So you are seeing those folks. In fact, there's just a little bit east of the Glensheen, there's a real shishi development there that is primarily rich folks from California. So they are up here, but hey, we'll take all comers. But what's really fun about Duluth is the tourism. It's one of the finest cities in America in both the summer and the winter. So the tourism is great, but there's always, especially in the summertime, there is a great vibe in Duluth. Wherever you go, people are having a good time. And they've got a great outdoor scene here with all the sports. Outdoor Magazine called it one of the greatest outdoor sports cities in America, and it's got a great indoor scene. What you would love, and I will show you around, it's got a really great music scene up here, Matt.
Oh no, it's yeah, that is known. It's got a really good music scene. Here's two other things I'll say. One, it is still, even on a cloudy day, one of the prettiest places you'll ever see. And two, and this gets back to, you know me, I have yet to have a bad meal in Duluth. I'm not saying they don't exist, but every time I've gone up there, numerous restaurants, every time I get food up there, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I live in the West End now, and which I made the mistake of calling West Duluth on Facebook, and they said, no, West Duluth is 37th past the trestle. But what's really interesting about West Duluth, Matt, like tonight at 6 o'clock, Alan Sparhawk from Lowe is playing in this Ween tribute band at the Bent Paddle. The Bent Paddle is a great, they sell beer all over the Midwest, but they've got their brew house right in the West End. There's a place called the OMC, which is just a wonderful barbecue joint. Great ribs, great chicken.
Nice.
They also run a place called the Duluth Grill, which is 12 blocks away from me. So it's really fun to watch the West End of Duluth come around like Northeast Minneapolis did when I moved in 97, bought my duplex in 99, where it was a really kind of undiscovered working class part of town. Then new restaurants, new music, new bars. And so I kind of feel like I'm reliving that again on the West End, and it's really exciting.
It's a great town, and I actually looking forward to getting up there more often. And I really am going to stop by and visit you here. We've got a lot to talk about. You've got new books out. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about the article you had in MinnPost here, where you talked lovingly about being the steward for the Dillon House. We'll talk all about that. Paul Metza, kind enough to join us here to have a longer conversation about just stuff in Minnesota. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hey, it's Tom. Fossil fuels continue to have negative impacts on our environment. Luckily, there are more ways now than ever to use renewable energy in your home or business. All Energy Solar offers smart energy solutions like custom solar paneling, electric vehicle chargers, and energy storage. Solar panel systems can last for decades, meaning you can help the environment and cut back on electric bills for years to come. There are incentives and rebates available to most people who install solar energy, too. Last year, the federal solar tax credit increased to a 30% tax credit. This incentive can be used in combination with other incentives from your utility, county, or city. But don't delay or miss out, as many of these incentives are limited to only a certain number of people. So have a professional from All Energy Solar help you discover how solar can power up your property while saving on your energy costs. Call 800-620-3370 or visit allenergysolar.com.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. Paul Metza kind enough to join us today to talk about, well, anything we really want to at this point. By the way, are you going to do, you're up on Vermilion, are you going to be able to get that hot dog on a boat they got up there now?
I've seen that. Not in person. I've seen photos, but we do have a boat now at the lake. We hadn't had one for years, so we'll track that thing down the next time you're up. I miss Chad, the Grand Poobah of AM 950 has a buddy so Chad stays about 3 miles from the Metza cabin on the Cook end of the lake. I missed him at the 4th of July. There's a nice little restaurant on the lake called The Landing. I called about 9 times. The SOB never got back to me, but we'll have to have a cocktail there. They've got good music on the weekends, and then we'll track down that hot dog boat for sure.
Just all of a sudden it dawned on me. You do that, yeah, I bet you there is a parade of boats following the hot dog boat on Vermilion every time it's on. Now that's pretty funny. By the way, I'm going to be up in Cook, probably going to be up in Cook here in about a week or so.
Well, we have to definitely stay in touch. I'm actually playing a memorial service on the 5th. I've got in Minneapolis for the afternoon. A very good friend of mine named James Reggae, who is a wonderful abstract expressionist painter, passed away after a battle with cancer at 75. He and I were very tight. And so I'm going to go down just for the day to play that. But I do a lot of those quick in and outs. I get down to Minneapolis. I get done when I got to get done. But I'll tell you, when I'm driving back and I hit that North Branch, past that exit on my way back to Duluth, I can't get home soon enough. I just love Duluth, Minnesota. I have for years, but living here has just been a lovely experience.
It's a fantastic part of the state. It's a fantastic part of the country. It's easy to see that. You and I, the last time we talked during the holidays, we brought in Alphabet Jazz. We talked about that book here. You also had mentioned that you had been staying in a one-year residency in the Dillon House there in Duluth, and you talked a lot about this, and you talk about this in the MinnPost story as well. That you ended up being real busy for you while staying there because so many people would swing on by.
Oh, it was amazing, and everybody was so kind. Like I said in the article, and I want to give a shout out to Jim Walsh, who did as a journalist, author, musician, songwriter himself, did a great job. But these people, I would always have coffee on the porch in the morning, weather permitting, and at night maybe something a little stronger. And there was always people coming by to take photos. There would be teenagers from youth camps in Wisconsin to couples in their RV. On my birthday one year on November 1st, a couple of years ago, there was a 7-person family from Mexico City, and they sang me happy birthday. It could have been better. They came up to see a Vikings game, flew in from Mexico City, then drove up to Duluth to see the Dillon House in Duluth, then up to Hibbing to see the Dillon House in Hibbing. My landlord, Bill Pagel, owns both houses. So what would happen, they would come with their cameras, and they were all very polite, and they'd take pictures of the house. Then I would have them, as part of my renter's duties, sign and date the guest book. And then if I had some of my CDs around, I'd lay a record on them. And so essentially, I told my buddy Sonny Earl, I said, what I was doing was kind of at that point, it was the Jehovah's Witnesses in reverse. They would show up at the door and I would give them something.
Oh, by the way, quick, so Jim Walsh is fantastic. I love the article here. Did you ever have anyone try to take a chunk of the house or anything like that? Because sometimes you get people that are like that. It's like, okay, it's there. I got to try to get a piece of the awning or something like that.
No, nothing like that. There was. Now, if you make an appointment at the Hibbing House, and you can Google and track down Bill Pagel's number, he'll give you a tour of that. The Duluth House, the Zimmermans lived on the second floor from about 41 when they started renting in the late 30s and were there till about early 1946 or 47. There was somebody that Bill gave a private tour to that did try to cop something from the second floor. So he's of course, very protective. Now, what's interesting about the second floor of the house, my apartment on the first floor was the exact replica. They were built exactly the same. But the upstairs, he has Bob's baby chair, Bob's crib, and then he's outfitted it with like a 1937, what's called a Merrimack refrigerator. Just these huge refrigerators. It looks like the old Merrimack submarines from the Civil War.
Are those the propane ones? Are those the propane fridges?
I believe they are. I can imagine who had to carry up the back stairs. But then he's got a nice old radio. You know, it's very circa from the 40s. So, you know, Bill is. When I was thinking about moving to Duluth, let's see, I ended up moving July of 2021, but about a year before, I was thinking about moving to Duluth before I even put my duplex for sale. And I lived in Northeast. I called a friend of mine named John Goldfein. The Goldfeins had a department store that was very well regarded. The Goldfeins are a very well established family in Duluth. And I called John. I said, hey, I'm thinking about moving up to Duluth. And he said, call Bill Pagel. And I knew Bill. And I'd been in the house and so I called him out of the blue. He said, no, I have a long-term renter. Well, then several months later, he called and said, are you still thinking about moving up to Duluth? I said, Bill, I just put my house for sale. So he said, when are you coming up? I said, end of June. He goes, the renter's moving out in June. So it was perfect timing for me to move in. And so while I was there, as the MinPost article said, I finished 3 books there. Finished Alphabet Jazz. I finished a book I co-wrote with Rick Shevchik called Blood in the Tracks, the Minnesota musicians behind Dylan's masterpiece, which is coming out on September 12th.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, long after probably a book signing, little music gig at the Electric Fetus. So re-released my autobiography, Blue Guitar Highway, that the University of Minnesota putting out Blood in the Tracks. They re-released that in paperback in June. And there was another book.
I'll tell you what, Paul, what we're gonna do is, you're cutting out a lot here again, but this is what I want you to come back. Let's come back. We'll get a better connection here. I want to talk about all these books here because, dear Lord, man, have you been busy? You have been writing like crazy. And yeah, we'll talk about the books. Obviously, last time we talked about Alphabet Jazz, but Bob Dylan in Minnesota, Troubadour Tales from Duluth, Hibbing, and Dinkytown, and as well Blood in the Tracks. We'll talk about both of those books when we do come on back. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Vacuum cleaners. You buy them, you break them, and then you throw them away, right? Well, if you're ready to break out of that vicious cycle, we have the answer. Never heard of A1 Vacuum? They've been around forever, offering better alternatives. So if you're ready to stop filling the landfill, give A1 Vacuum a shot. Located in Roseville and ready to show you something better. Find them at a-1vacuum.com or call 651-222-6316. Better yet, drop by.
Hi, I'm Scott Shamblat from Shamblat Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shamblat Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
How does this sound? Doesn't this sound better? If you've decided to level your home and build new or to renovate, hire Better Futures Minnesota instead to take it apart by hand. Think before you scrap. Think of the energy and greenhouse gases saved when someone repurposes your old cabinets, fixtures, and lumber. Think of all the resources saved by diverting those building materials from the landfill. Better Futures Minnesota makes it happen for you. Hennepin County residents and public entities, funds are available to make the environmentally responsible alternative comparable to a typical demolition. For more information, check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com or call 612-351-8650. And don't forget to shop the Reuse Warehouse in Minneapolis.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 89. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. And Saturday, sunny with a high near 83.
Get paid to upgrade. Warner Stellian will buy your appliance for $50 during our trade-in sale. No one else saves you more time from shopping to free professional delivery like Warner Stellian. Put us to the test. Shop Minnesota family-owned WarnerStellian.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. Paul Metza, kind enough to join us for a good chunk of the hour today, talking about all sorts of things, including 3 books. Dude, man, I've thought about writing a book. I couldn't even finish the first page. You wrote 3 in a year. You worked with other people, but you still, my goodness, my friend.
Well, it was fun because those 3 Dylan-related books, I was writing it while I was living at Dylan's house, so it couldn't have been more inspiring.
Now, like I said, we talked Alphabet Jazz at the holidays. How's that been going? I know you did a lot of touring around with that.
Yeah, it's been going good. It can be ordered on Amazon, and you can pre-order Blood in the Tracks. You can also order my autobiography, Blue Guitar Highway. So, yeah, I've had a busy year. For a guy that really makes his living playing guitar, I've had a busy year writing books, that's for sure.
Bob Dylan in Minnesota, Troubadour Tales from Duluth, Hibbing, and Dinkytown. I've noticed on your Facebook and pages that these guys are out there touring around talking about the book a lot already, is correct?
Yeah, 2 of the guys, Mark Verkansky and Matt Steichen, there was 4 co-authors from Minnesota. Those 2, myself and a guy named Ed Newman, who writes a great blog up here called Enemans Territory. And Keith Miles wrote a book about Dylan in London, Troubadour Tales, Dylan in New York. And then he pretty much farmed it out. He had never been to Minnesota. Somehow he tracked us down, and we all contributed. I wrote the foreword to Dylan in Minnesota, and then I wanted to make sure we included a piece on B.J. Ralston, who was Dylan's English and humanities teacher. I had the pleasure of meeting B.J. several times, and I say in the book, and it's true, you can draw a direct line from those classes with B.J. Ralston to Dylan's 2016 Nobel Prize for Literature that Bob got. That direct line goes from B.J. Ralston at Hibbing High School to the Nobel Prize.
Isn't it amazing how many times you hear that story of a kid going through school, one teacher just resonates, and it ends up, not only, Bob Dylan. I remember reading about someone who worked for NASA, who worked on some of the space program there. And he never had done anything with math until one teacher said, "I think you're pretty good at this stuff." And that started their career down that thing. We do not appreciate teachers as much as we need to.
No, I've been saying for years, Matt, double the pay of cops, give them, they get 800 hours of training, give them 4,000 hours, double their pay, double all teachers' pay, period. Just do it. We were very fortunate in St. Louis County to have just an incredible school system. And I can name every English teacher I had from 7th through 12th grade. What was interesting for me, Matt, I went up and interviewed B.J. Ralston in his living room. I called my retired English teacher, Tom Moeller, and because he was in videography after teaching. And I said, I want to do an interview with B.J. Ralston, which people can find on YouTube. Just Google Paul Metza and B.J. Ralston, R-O-L-F-Z-E-N. And my teacher, Tom Moeller, said, I used to take English from B.J. at Hibbing Community College. I wanted to go into coaching in athletics. B.J. was such an influence on him. He ended up getting his degree in English from St. John's University. And so I felt like I kind of got some of BJ's magic secondhand, but you're absolutely right. The importance of teachers.
When you're with Bob Dylan in Minnesota, Troubadour, Tales from Duluth, Hibbing, and Dinkytown, that's really kind of just, that's the focus there is talking about those early days and the inspiration that he got from that area, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And it talks about his time. It says some history of his family immigrating from Russia. And then, it's a very important time, not only in the Iron Range in Duluth and in Hibbing, of course, but his time in Dinkytown, which was very important because when he came down from Hibbing, he enrolled in the University of Minnesota. Whether or not he really went to any classes, nobody's really for sure. But he fell in with the Dinkytown, kind of the Bohemian enclave there, and was tuned into, Allen Ginsberg, all the great poets, Ginsberg, Corso, Jack Kerouac.
Yeah.
Then also some of all the great folk and blues musicians like the young Tony Glover, Spider J. Kerner, Bill Hinckley and Judy Larson, and Dave Snaker Ray, who I am fortunate when down in Minneapolis in '78. I got to be very good friends and speak with all of those people as well. So I've been fortunate in my life, not that I was trying to ape Dylan's journey, but just geographically, I've ended up in the same places that he was. So I had been able to garner a lot of those same influences that I hold very near and dear to my heart.
So you had that book. Then talk about Blood in the Tracks. Now, you said, I believe you said that this book is coming out in September, correct?
September 12th from the University of Minnesota Press. What I had done, it goes back actually to 2001. I produced the $1 Million Bash, Dylan's 60th birthday party at First Avenue. We had 40 bands on stages, 7th Street entry and First Avenue, and Curtis A. and all different kinds of musicians played. And I called Kevin Odegaard, who played guitar on Tangled Up in Blue, and I said, what are the chances of putting together the studio band for Blood on the Tracks, who hadn't been together since 1974? He made some phone calls, called me 2 days later. We got 5 of the 6 guys that played on the record. So they performed all 5 songs from the record.
Wow.
That they performed on. And believe me, it was pure magic that night. What is also interesting, Dylan's at his farm, Minneapolis. My friend Larry Keegan, who was a childhood friend of he almost made it in. Larry said it's really a cool scene that we had to just ran from. So Bob didn't show up. I can't imagine that place would have taken off to outer space had Bob shown up. But as it turns out, we kind of the atmosphere with that collection of musicians.
Well, yeah, I will. Well, and by the way, I will say your phone is kind of once again cutting out a little bit here. But I mean, the point, we kind of get the point there about that. It just, you get the opportunity. I mean, you're talking, it's, and one of the things that I like talking about with Paul is the studio musician element of it. That if you're a musician like Paul Metza, you think about the studio, musicians that are involved in this. And the fact is that the studio musicians themselves, they might not be recognizable names, but if you know, maybe there are about 100 albums made where everyone who's in music that knows music knows exactly who every studio musician was on that album. And that's one of the things that's amazing. And it's the fact that you were able to pull them all together. And like I say, it would have been nuts if Dylan would have shown up, but the fact that you were able to pull them all together, I mean, just for you as a fan of music, that's got to be incredibly intimidating, awe-inspiring. I don't know what the word would be, but it got to be nuts.
Well, it was something that really had to be done. Now, Kevin Odegaard, who's become a very good friend of mine, we just recently did an interview with Soundwaves magazine, a New England-based monthly, was so kind to me because he credits me with restarting their campaign to finally get recognition for playing on that record. So I had done a lot of the interviews with all of the musicians that played on that record. So when More Blood, More Tracks came out, 6 CD set of outtakes from those sessions, the musicians in 2018 finally got their name on the reissue. And Odegaard is nice enough to say, he recognized I tried to save the Guthrie Theater for 7 years. He goes, that might not have happened. He goes, but you can certainly take credit for helping reignite the flame and get the passion together to finally get our names on that record. So if that's the only thing I do in life, I'd be happy with that, Matt.
Well, and you've done a lot, dude. And the fact that you're documenting this, what you're doing here with all your work and your music as well is making sure that tradition. I mean, there's a lot of artists that are kind of one-time hits, and that's kind of the legacy fades out. And the reality is I think you talk about, and Dylan, what was it? Dylan said that he was, his musical style is Minnesota, the North Dakota sort of thing. There is a definitive style and personality and presence that comes from the Northland, which Dylan was able to harness. And I think because no one realized where it was coming from, it was able to really resonate with so many people because it spoke to so many people, considering the nature of the communities that were up there. And I think that if we're not preserving that, I think that is, and even when you get like to Blood in the Tracks, it's just, you've got to preserve all this, because if it's gone, when it's gone, it will be gone. And so I think it's commendable that you're doing as much work here as you can to preserve as much of this legacy.
Well, I've been, as I say in that article that Walsh did, I used to hitchhike over to Hibbing from Virginia, which is 22 miles away where I grew up. Just stand in front of that house and go, the man that walked out of those doors as a young man was starting to change American culture. And I look at Bob Dylan as first and foremost, an Iron Ranger. There is no one that has a greater work ethic than Bob Dylan. Most miners even retire in their 60s. Dylan just got done with a European tour at 82 years old. And then what I also said in a previous interview in the Duluth News Tribune, I said, for God's sakes, and now these days he's welding. I said, and it doesn't get any more Iron Range than that.
Well, so, okay, you hitchhiked from Virginia. I think we're lucky you're alive. How often did you hitchhike from Virginia to Hibbing?
Well, when I was in my teens, that's what you did before you got driver's license. You hitchhiked from town to town. You chased women. You'd go see a football game. Well, occasionally you'd see a hockey game. You didn't really want to hitchhike in the winter. But it was really, as you know, it was a much gentler time. And but it was really fun to go over. I've actually house sat a fellow named Greg French, who recently passed away, may he rest in peace, owned the house. He came up to me at a gig I was doing in Virginia, said, I think you'd like to meet me. And I said, why is that? He goes, I just bought Bob Dylan's house in Hibbing. I said, Greg French, I'm Paul Metzer. When can I come over? So he and his wife that summer went on a vacation. So I was able to house sit in the basement where Dylan used to rehearse for about 4 days. And it was crazy because I'd hit the bars at night and I'd come home. I'd go down to the basement to crash, and you'd hear these windows slamming and doors slamming. I swear to God, the ghosts that were in that house when Dylan was a teenager were still there. Now, what's also interesting about Hibbing, because you're a bit of an Iron Ranger yourself, you can walk around that neighborhood, and you were right by Kevin McHale's house, right by Gino Paolucci's house, right by Vincent Bugliosi's house. Vincent lived right next to the high school, and of course, Vincent Bugliosi was the lawyer who prosecuted Charles Manson. Now, let's not forget Roger Maris, who was born in Hibbing. And then another singer who a lot of our listeners would know, Gary Puckett from Gary Puckett, the Union Gap, grew up on Side Lake.
Well, and and that's all there. That's what, about 2 blocks off the high school. I mean, it's been a while. They're all, it's insane. You go up there, you would not believe as many people that are as famous came from that 3 or 4 block square area. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And getting back, my English teacher, Tom Moeller, he hired me to play for Tony Perpich and the Perpetones. Tony was an accordion player.
Okay, was that related to Rudy Perpich?
First cousin.
Oh God! So, because the Perpiches used to live right down the road from us, our family down on Esquagama, and so we knew the Perpiches there. So okay.
Yeah, so Tony was Rudy's best man at his wedding, and Rudy was best man at Tony's wedding. So back when I was in ninth grade, I played bass with Tony Purpose and the Purpose Tones, and the first time we played VFWs and Union Halls and the Armory, and then we played these nightclubs. So I got to see where Mom and Dad would dress up and go out to on the weekend. So I fell in love with nightclubs and saloons at a very young age.
Well, and they're fun up there. They're fun. Well, I mean, my gosh,
yeah.
But Wabick had the bar sauna for many years. I'd kill to have that sucker still open. That'd be a hoot. So, all right. Okay. So we got to run through all this stuff here. First of all, Bob Dylan in Minnesota, Troubadour Tales from Duluth, Hibbing, and Dinkytown. That one is out right now. You did the preface for it, correct?
That's correct. Then I did the piece on BJ Walsh.
Alphabet Jazz. You and I talked about that. That's out. That's selling well. You can find it at your favorite booksellers, correct?
No, it's actually just getting at Amazon.
At Amazon.
I just didn't have the wherewithal to do it myself, but Amazon. Be back to you in 3 days.
All right, no problem. I did hear you cut out a little bit earlier. I did hear you say something that they're reissuing your story, your book.
Blue Guitar Highway, which was an interesting backstory. I tried to get into the University of Minnesota Music School. I was taking guitar lessons in Duluth with a guy named Robert Wander. I took classical guitar lessons for 2 years. So when I went down fall of 78 to do my audition for the U of M Music School, I passed my playing exam, but flunked my theory exam. I got a letter from the U of M. I wish I still had it. I got it. I'm reviewing your test scores. I highly recommend you find it refused. So it was great enthusiasm when I received the phone call from them in 2011, the University of Minnesota Press, the same university that refused me entrance into their music school, asked me if I wanted to write a book about 30 years in the music business. And then the other thing to that, Matt, my guitar teacher, Robert Wander, was a great songwriter, musician, rapper named Dessa Darling.
Okay. Dessa Darling.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took, guitar lessons from her dad.
You took guitar lessons from Dessa's dad?
Yeah.
Okay. We've done Perpiches. We've got Dessa now tied in. It's just, this is Minnesota. God, I love chatting with you, my friend. Blood in the Tracks. I got to mention this really quick because we got to get to a break. We got a weather thing here. Blood in the Tracks, that comes out once again, 12th of September.
12th of September. We'll do some with the Fetus not long after that.
And then Wednesday at the Blackwater Lounge in East Superior up in Duluth, every Wednesday, 6 to 8. You can go catch Paul up there, and I highly recommend you do. You'll have a good time with that. And of course, you get Wall of Power Radio Hour, 6 p.m. on Saturday nights here. Paul, I will be chatting with you about seeing you over the next few weeks. Okay, my friend?
Great. And people can go to paulmetza.com, find out all the above. Thanks, Matt. I so enjoy speaking with you.
You are one of my favorite guests ever. It's a privilege to have you on, and it's an absolute honor. All my best, my friend, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, brother. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
No problem. Paul Metza here. Before we go to break here, Patrick, you say we got some weather warnings?
Yes, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for southern Hennepin County and northern Dakota County. That includes the Bloomington, Burnsville, Apple Valley areas. That's until 5:15. Severe thunderstorm warning that includes Bloomington until 5:15.
Well, that's us. Is it? You can see at the window. I don't have a window in here. They don't want anyone to see me do this. Is it look bad out there right now?
We did get some heavy rain on the security monitor. The storm, I think we were getting a special weather statement. Those were kind of some of the storms that rolled into the metro area, but now some of them have reached severe status as they've moved through into the south part of the metro area.
All right. So keep in mind, as a matter of fact, looking at the radar right now, rain through a good chunk of the metro area. So just drive carefully and keep an eye on that. We'll take a break. Come on back. Wrap up the show for the week when we do return. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950. I love my Toyota vehicles, so when it's time for me to get my service done, there's only one place I go, Rudy Luther Toyota. They know Toyotas inside and out. It starts with them checking your alignment and tire treads with their Hunter Quick Check Drive inspection service. Oil changes, tires, batteries, wipers, no matter what you need done, they can help you with reliable Toyota parts and the best service team in Minnesota. Check out their website, rudyluthertoyota.com, for service and part specials just for Toyota vehicles. Get your Toyota serviced at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
Yeah, definitely some storms kind of popping up there out of nowhere. There was nothing on the radar at all when I came into the show. So it's be careful out there. Once a severe thunderstorm watch in effect. And that's once again, the heavier storms are in the southern Hennepin County area right now. And if you're looking at the radar, it's just kind of going straight west to east. So Bloomington looks like on the northern side of Burnsville, you're going to see some heavier rain there. And there is actually a pretty heavy line on the back side of this. So Andover, Brooklyn Park up in the northwest part of the metro, you're seeing some stuff, heavier weather over towards Woodbury. So just be careful there. Yeah, it's a shame Metz's phone was kind of cruding out there, but gosh, any day you can talk to Paul Metz is a good day, man. I mean, doesn't it feel like, I just feel like I ran into someone, had him come on out to the cabin. We sat by the lake shore and just chatted for about an hour. That's he's a Minnesotan's Minnesotan. That's Paul Metza, man. I love him. PaulMetza.com, PaulMetza.com. And once again, the books are out there. Alphabet Jazz, the one we talked about earlier. You can go get that at Amazon. Blood in the Tracks, that comes on out here in September, and he is part of Bob Dylan in Minnesota, Troubadour Tales from Duluth, Hibbing, and Dinkytown. You can go find that book as well. Taking us out this week, it's Sinead O'Connor. It's the second week in a row I've had a tribute song on a Friday. Have a good one. We are back on a Monday. And until then, see ya.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free